Hello, everyone. This is Elvin. Welcome to VOC Weekly News, where we bring you the latest and the most significant news from Chinland this week. In the southern region of Chin State, Mindat Township, on March 11, the Chinland Defense Force Mindat CDF Mindat enforced a blockade restricting entry and exit from the village as part of security measures. This action was taken in response to the villagers' refusal to comply with forced conscription into the Mindat CDF. In India's Assam state detention centers, detained Chin refugees are reportedly staging a hunger strike. Sources indicate that the detainees are protesting against their prolonged detention and uncertain legal status. Concerns are growing over their well-being as they continue to demand better treatment and clarity on their future. Myanmar is currently facing a severe economic crisis with growing concerns over poverty and food insecurity. According to the latest report from the World Food Programme (WFP), an estimated 15 million people in the country are experiencing acute food shortages. The WFP warns that the worsening situation is pushing more people toward extreme hunger, worsening the ongoing humanitarian crisis. This report highlights the urgent need for intervention and humanitarian aid to alleviate the hardships faced by the population. Stay tuned for these updates and other important stories in tonight's program. CDF Mindat blockade enforced in Sadhu village. Reports from Sadhu village located in Mindat Township, southern Chinland. The Chinland Defense Force Mindat CDF Mindat enforced a strict blockade restricting both entry and exit from the village. Local sources report that this action was taken because the village refused to comply with forced conscription into CDF Mindat. According to eyewitness accounts, around 50 members of CDF Mindat arrived in Sadhu village on January 25th and have since imposed severe movement restrictions. Key roads have been sealed off, preventing villagers from freely traveling in or out of the area. A local resident stated that these restrictions are tied to ongoing conflicts between armed groups. Some villagers are believed to have connections with the Chin National Army (CNA), leading to increased tensions with CDF Mindat. As a result, the blockade has further isolated the community. CDF Mindat forces are reportedly guarding key access points, closely monitoring movement, and questioning villagers about their affiliations. While no reports of violence have been confirmed, the blockade has severely impacted daily life, restricting access to essential supplies such as food, medicine, and communication networks. Sources confirm that Sadhu village residents are now facing worsening conditions with shortages of basic necessities and limited communication access. The blockade has also cut off connections with neighboring villages, making it increasingly difficult for residents to seek medical assistance or relocate to safer areas. As the situation continues to develop, concerns are growing over the long-term impact on the local population. Chin young man from Palawa, Chin State arrested for forced conscription by Myanmar military junta. Reports indicate that two young Chin men from Palawa Township, Chin State, who had moved to Mobi Township, Yangon, due to conflicts in their hometown, have been arrested for forced conscription. A 27-year-old man was detained while traveling to Shuibo for a family matter related to a death in the family. He was later transferred to a military training camp in Daungjishan State. His family and friends remain unaware of his exact whereabouts or condition. Similarly, a 25-year-old Kumi Chin man was arrested while trying to leave for work. Reports indicate that he has also been taken to a military camp in Mobi Township, Yangon, for forced conscription, where he is currently being held for military training. According to sources, these young men were among a group of several Chin youths who attempted to flee Balawat Township due to pressure and conflict in the region caused by the Arakan army. Forced conscription operations continue across multiple townships including Mobi, Legu, Taichi, Plaintaya, Shripita, Mingladong, and Chanwa, where authorities are actively detaining young men and sending them to military training camps. This development has raised growing concerns among local communities as many fear further arrest and forced recruitment, severely limiting opportunities for young people seeking work or attempting to relocate for safety. As the situation continues to unfold, we will closely monitor developments and provide updates as more information becomes available. Hunger strike by Chin refugees in India's Assam state detention centers. Reports from India's Assam state revealed that Chin refugees continue to be detained and are reportedly staging a hunger strike in protest of their prolonged confinement. Those currently on hunger strike are individuals who were detained after seeking asylum at the UNHCR office in New Delhi following the 2021 military coup in Myanmar. According to an announcement released by India for Myanmar on January 31st, a group of 32 people remains in custody. It is noted that although they have already served their sentences or completed legal procedures, these refugees continue to be held in Assam due to the ongoing political turmoil in Myanmar. At the Golpara Detention Center in Assam, there are 32 Chin refugees as well as 110 Rohingya refugees who are also being held there. While the Chin refugees are currently on a hunger strike, it is not yet confirmed whether the Rohingya detainees have joined them. The Rohingya detainees have been in custody since the major crisis in Rakhine State in 2017, facing sentences of 7 to 10 years. In September 2024, both Rohingya and Chin detainees also participated in a hunger strike at the Assam Detention Center. Zoe Reunification Organization Zoro destroys FMR sign at India-Myanmar border. On January 29th, the Zoe Unification Organization Zoro reportedly destroyed and burned a signboard and an executive order related to the Free Movement Regime FMR along the India-Myanmar border. The incident, which took place around 12 noon, was part of a demonstration opposing restrictions on border crossings. The location where the FMR signboard was removed is a key checkpoint for local residents, including those from Mizoram, who frequently use the border for travel and trade. Previously, the FMR system allowed people living within 40 kilometers of the India-Myanmar border to move freely between the two countries. However, since January 1st, 2024, the system has been effectively suspended, limiting border access and prompting criticism from organizations advocating for free movement. Zoro claims that the removal of the FMR sign is part of its border campaign to protect the rights of the Zoe Chin people who live across India, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. The organization argues that these communities share historical and cultural ties, making free movement essential to their way of life. Zoro is now demanding that authorities reinstate border crossing rights for the Zoe people and other ethnic communities. They emphasize that further restrictions on movement will only deepen their isolation and threaten their survival. Myanmar is facing a severe food insecurity crisis. The United Nations World Food Programme, or WFP, has issued a dire warning up to 15 million people could suffer from hunger and malnutrition this year. According to WFP's latest estimates, food insecurity has worsened significantly. Last year, 13.3 million people were affected, but the number is expected to climb to 15 million by 2025. The situation is most critical in conflict-affected regions, including Chin, Kachin, Rakhine, and Sagaing, where food shortages are at their worst. But the crisis doesn't stop there. Nearly 20 million people, one in every three Myanmar citizens, are now in urgent need of humanitarian aid. Ongoing armed conflicts and violence have already forced over 3.5 million people from their homes, and WFP predicts this number could rise to 4.5 million by the end of the year. For displaced communities, food is the most pressing need, yet inflation has caused the price of basic food items to skyrocket by 30% over the past year, making survival even more difficult. In response, the WFP has announced plans to provide food aid to at least 1.6 million people in Myanmar this year. To ensure that support reaches those who need it most, the organization is actively coordinating with all parties involved in the ongoing conflict. The humanitarian situation in Myanmar remains critical, and international assistance is more crucial than ever. We will continue to monitor developments and bring you the latest updates. Starting today, January 31st, men aged 18 to 35 who fall under the military junta conscription age will no longer be permitted to sign overseas employment contracts. This restriction has been confirmed by multiple overseas employment agencies. For those who had already signed contracts before January 30, their departure for overseas work will still be allowed. However, as of today, January 31st, no new overseas employment contracts for men within the conscription age range will be processed, as reported by the BBC. Additionally, the junta-controlled Ministry of Labor has suspended the issuance of Overseas Worker Identification Cards (OWIC), further restricting job opportunities abroad. Reports also indicate that men aged 18 to 35 who qualify for military conscription are now facing limitations even for travel. The junta is imposing restrictions on those attempting to leave the country using a private visa (PV) passport via airports. As the military regime struggles to maintain control, it has enforced the conscription law, tightening restrictions on young men leaving the country. Forced recruitment has escalated, with reports of increasing arrests and forced enlistment. Thank you for tuning into VOC Weekly English Program. We'll be back with more updates in our next broadcast. We hope to see you again next week.